This video is not intended for you to substitute or add into your own training. Please get a professional to look over your specific needs before taking any of this information into your own daily activity. This video is for my clients to help give them a better understanding on what their body might be going through at said time and why I program the way that I program. Now, there's many different scenarios and things that can come into consideration that I'm not going to go into depth with. You should end this video with at least the knowledge to know why the things are happening in your body when you are focusing on said areas. I will be breaking these videos down into 3 different categories so that you can watch the short form and get specific information tailored to what you might be going through or the information that you're looking for. And there will be the main video, which will have it all out in its entirety, that you can watch start to finish to get all of the information without breaking. Before we go into the triangle that I've drawn up here, I'm going to focus on the X and Y axes. So starting at the 0 point here, if we're going up towards the cardio side, we're enhancing our cardiovascular fitness, or that should be the main goal. If we're going across the other axis here, we're focusing on strength or hypertrophy of the skeletal muscles for our body. Now, let's say that you don't strength train and you don't do any cardio yourself. No matter what somatotype you are, whether you are skinny and you're wanting to put on size, whether you are overweight and you're wanting to shrink yourself down, or whether you're generally a fit looking guy like the mesomorphs and you just want to change and get a little bit smaller or bigger in things like that, you can, just with nutrition alone, focus on these. This goes into things like daily caloric intake, your own basal metabolic rate. I highly recommend get a professional to give you more information on. You can adjust the macronutrient levels. You always have to get the micronutrient levels in, otherwise you will end up sick. And you can play around and fluctuate with that to determine whatever body that you want. How would that look? If I wasn't doing any resistance training and I wasn't doing any cardio, I just wanted to lose weight on the scales. Now, if I am what the industry calls a hard gainer or a ectomorph somatotype, then first of all, I want to make sure that I'm actually getting real and well-sourced and farmed foods. Making a broad statement here, but if it comes in a packet, if you get it around the center of a supermarket or a shopping center, if it's had stuff added to it with additives, sauces, salt, sugar, spices in that from a company, it probably isn't the best thing that we can be having. You want to really focus on making sure that we are eating above our basal metabolic rate each day. If you fall below it, that's where we're not going to be able to put on any size, strength, weight. If your calories are a touch over your daily needs, you will put on size, you will get stronger, you will move in the direction that you want on the scales. On the other side of a spectrum, if we're more an endomorphic type person or on the larger side and you're wanting to shrink down, again, only on the scales, without doing any cardio or any resistance training, this can be done with your food as well. Swap around, you eat just under. If you drop too under the basal metabolic rate, your body's not getting the nutrients that it needs. Eventually you're going to get sick. You may start going in the direction that you think you want to be going in because the scale's going down, but I can guarantee you in the long run, this is not a place that you want to be. And I see many people go down that route, which has, for one, inspired this video to come out. If the daily eating that you're doing is a little bit lower than the daily expenditure, you will drop weight, you will start to move into the direction that you want to be going. And because it is such a small gap, you're probably still getting the nutrients that the body requires on a day-to-day basis for all the functions that it does, as long as you are consuming real, well-sourced and farmed foods. Now that you have your nutrition in check, you want to start adding some runs or some bike rides or some elliptical or a rower or some sort of cardiovascular fitness into your routine. Now, a couple of things here, and a lot of people do this, and this is where it goes wrong. As we increase our energy expenditure with cardiovascular exercise, daily needs or food requirements have to go up and increase with it. That being said, the calories that you plan for yourself before that you were just sticking under and was working for you without any cardio or weight training, now has to be adjusted for the extra stress that's being provided on the body. If you want to keep improving, let's say that you don't make the change, just focusing on nutrition, I wasn't doing any cardiovascular exercise and I wasn't doing any weight training. I then added 3 walks in a week and kept my nutrition exactly the same. At first, I started noticing my midline really starting to shrink. And I'm thinking, this is working. What I'm doing is really going well. Then, shortly after, I notice I'm getting a little bit faster in my strides. Go home, the scale is moving down in the direction that I'm wanting to head to. Weeks and weeks go by, I keep getting smaller, I keep getting lighter on the scales, and I'm thinking I'm doing everything correctly that I want to be doing. Winter comes around and I catch the common flu or cold that goes around. Does this sound familiar? This isn't bad luck. What you've been doing is that deficit that you're providing, you've just been a little bit under your body's daily needs with all the micronutrients and all the other things that it needs to do all the bodily functions, keep your immunity and your health at its tip-top shape. The second a virus or illness starts coming around, your immune system is dropped because your nutrition hasn't been matching the new stress that you're providing on your body. You're then more likely to get sick or ill, thus ruining your training, ruining your goals. That's the first point. The second point, there's many different ways to get in our nutrients. We have omnivores, carnivores, pescatarians, vegans, vegetarians, breatharians. There's many. If you don't allow yourself adequate protein intake, not saying meat, but protein intake with all the amino acids that the body needs as well for the muscle recovery from the increased cardiovascular fitness or training, your body's not going to recover and it's going to feel like we don't need this heavy, dense muscle that our body has. You're going to then lose it. What this looks like for you guys, the scale weight is still going down. So you're really happy. But what's actually going on inside is you're losing strength and muscle density that you once had that's supporting your skeletal system. This then allows muscles to get stiffer and start to tighten up. Your posture changes, could even start causing pain in specific areas. More importantly than that, because your body's not getting its daily needs, it thinks it's in a deprivative state. So it's going to start holding on to fat or make that less easy for you to burn off. And as we lose the muscle mass that we once had, because we're not eating our adequate protein in amounts, our muscle mass percentage and our fat percentage start to shift. That's what medical professionals are now calling the skinny fat body type. Because someone can be light on the scales and within normal BMI ranges, but their body fat mass far outweighs their skeletal muscle mass, and they are deemed still in the same dangerous territories as those who are obese people. Albeit, you've made the adjustments with your nutrition to your new training load. This is where you can really start to get into some serious levels of cardiovascular fitness. Most of the elite endurance athletes that we see today have their nutrition and their cardio in check. Now this adjusts all the time because we can't always keep our training at the same level, otherwise we're going to burn out. But there's highs and lows and waves within our training. There also needs to be those same matched highs, lows, waves within our daily caloric intake needs and protein, carbs, fats, and micronutrient intake. Let's use a runner or a cyclist or a swimmer, for example. Now each dabble into a little bit of resistance training because with every step of the legs or cycle of the pedals or movement with the arms goes into specific muscle groups and counts as reps or resistance training on the body. So they are dabbling into a little bit of this. Now, using the pen, this then means nutrition's in check and our cardio training's in check, and because we're doing rep after rep after rep and we're keeping consistent with it, we're slowly adding that resistance training aspect with our cardiovascular and our nutrition as our volume gets higher and keeps increasing. How do I put an example on this? Let's say day one, you've already figured out your nutrition and you've using the same example as before. I'm going for 3 walks a week. Let's say in those walks, I'm only doing 20 minutes and I'm getting 1 kilometer. Great. It doesn't matter where we're getting. It's a starting point and it's a measurable figure that we can now improve upon. In the same said time, I'm now getting up into a light jog with my walks because my scale weight's going down. I'm feeling much more energetic. I'm feeling way better in myself. My mobility is getting better because I'm up in this range here now and I'm going to attempt to run a bit. So my 3 walks have now turned into 3 runs a week. And I've gone from doing 3 kilometers in total weekly with my training to now I'm doing 4 kilometer runs every time. This then means I've gone from 3,000 meters of volume to 12,000 meters of volume in the same said time, which is increasing the volume load, maybe even the intensity as well. There are lots of other factors in it. This then means nutrition needs to come into check, but also means as I keep improving down that line, the further I go and the more reps I put in week after week after week, I'm slowly moving into the area of resistance training. So it's not always weights and in the gym. Resistance training is just repetitions over time with specific stress to the body. We're going to focus on resistance training in this video. Hopefully you've watched the previous ones and you have your nutrition in check for whatever it is that your goal requires. From here, we're going to add in a 2-day-a-week weights program within the gym. That's going to be the base of our resistance training. First thing to bring up that I also mentioned in the cardiovascular fitness video is that when stress on the body increases, it means our nutrition has to magnify, meaning we need more micronutrients, we need more macronutrients. Our daily caloric requirements rises. We have to hit that, otherwise we fall into the same scenario as when the nutrition wasn't right with the cardio output. Let me go through that for you. Now at first, I'm noticing I'm getting stronger quickly. I started not being able to get down into a full depth squat. I couldn't overhead press. I got 0 on the 7-stage sit-up test. I'm now up to a level 1 on the 7-stage sit-up test. I can now get into a full depth squat. So I've gained that full body mobility there. My lats are loosened up, my shoulders are stronger, and all the other supporting muscles of the upper body, along with my core, that I can now overhead press as well. Everything's going in the right direction. I start to increase my volume. So I start strength training and the volume slowly begins to come up. Now, just like in the cardio video before, this is where with specific set training, as the volume increases, we start to sort of go into this cardio stage. You cannot increase a stress in one of these 2 areas alone without it pushing into the other area a bit. And with time and specific repetitions in whichever alteration we made, that will determine how far into the cardio area we go when we're focusing on gym, or like the previous video showed, how far into strength training we go when we're focusing on our cardiovascular fitness. Back to the analogy. So we're a couple of months in, I'm starting to notice some strength gains in all those areas I mentioned before. I'm then increasing and I'm adding on a day. So now my volume's really starting to go up. This is where my heart and lungs are getting a little bit more active during my strength training. I'm now here and I haven't adjusted my nutrition at all. Just like on the cardiovascular side of things, I'm noticing the scales going down, my midline's probably getting a little leaner. I'm still putting on a little bit of strength, but I'm not quite improving at the rate that I was improving at the start. It still looks like I'm heading in the right direction, right? This is where people can get this wrong. Because of that calorie gap, same as with the cardiovascular video, I'm not providing my body with the daily requirements for it to complete all of the functions it needs to. Therefore, my immune system's going to drop. When the cold and flu season comes around, it increases my chances of catching that. It also increases my chances of injury or strain of a muscle or fatigue. It impacts my mood and my performance in other areas of my daily activity. This is where nutrition should always be the first standpoint to get right. Without it, we're always going to come across these issues. Now, your nutrition's been good. You're scaling it up as you increase your volume within the gym, in your training, and you're getting some real serious gains. Your cardiovascular fitness still increases while we're focusing on strength or hypertrophy, depending on the goal, because of either shorter rest periods between sets, increased duration of muscle tension. It's all stress provided to the body within a gym, but the heart rate is increasing because of the stimulus that you are providing it. The bodies that we see in magazines that we aspire to look like, those ripped, lean, shredded guys and girls, probably don't do as much cardio as we think they are. Their time is focused around in the gym, and what they have done is they've just got their training volume and their nutrition in line to ensure that their eating isn't going too far over or too far under their body's daily needs, and they're also getting the specific repetitions that their body needs to improve whatever it is that they want to improve. Now we're going to go into the sweet spot. This is this area right in the middle here. To give you a visualization of who I'm talking about in this sweet spot, it's probably no world record holder that you've ever heard of, unless we're talking about records in fitness as a whole, say for CrossFit or specific fitness events that require a whole foundation of fitness. To be the leanest, most muscly guy in a room, you can't have too much cardiovascular fitness. Your nutrition does have to be on point, like we said before. So you're going to be more down here. To be running a 3.5 minute kilometer, 10K, your cardio has to be right up here, but you can't have too much hypertrophy going on in your muscles. So you're sitting more in this area. The new mum or dad that doesn't really have enough time to get to the gym or time to go out and do those runs and do what they once did, but still want to maintain the body that they have. They sit around here, where that person won't fully give up training, but the volume will drop a lot, or won't fully give up their running or whatever cardio it is that they're doing, but the volume will drop a lot, but their nutrition matches. So they're sitting around here. So the elite people in each of the specific areas are more towards the different points of the triangle. But the sweet spot is the average person that have their nutrition in check for the resistance training that they're doing and the cardiovascular fitness that they're doing. And they're equally good in each of these categories and are well-balanced athletes. To be able to stay in check, this requires much more than just weighing ourselves on the scales. In this category here, the nutrition could be off and we're eating more calories than we need in our routines. We're going to be getting stronger, or we're going to be growing if that's what we're trying to do, but we're also going to be putting on body fat as well. Same again, you're under-eating to the training that you're doing. Your strength or the progress that you were getting in this area is going to start slowing down or even reversing, and you're going to start moving into the areas of sickness. Now I'm going to be going into why you think you're working towards the sweet spot and you're wanting to reduce your body weight, but your weight's going up on the scales. Now we haven't tracked circumferences and we haven't tracked skin folds. So we don't know if it's muscle mass increasing or if it's body fat increasing, but we are getting heavier. Muscle does weigh more than fat. If we are losing fat and putting on the same amount of muscle, we're gonna get heavier. So if your strength is increasing and you're getting a lot stronger, you could be getting heavier on the scales for that reason. What I highly recommend doing is taking photos of yourself in the mirror and seeing the changes over time to your body. That's a great gauge without going through a skin fold test and without taking the circumferences of your body parts to see whether fat is being put on the body or whether you are looking leaner and looking like you're dropping weight, but the scales are still going up. This is a great way to see if you're training within that sweet spot or if one of these points is off. Doing cardiovascular training for fat loss, I do not recommend. It falls into the bad habit trap of creating a major deficit. Generally speaking, the people that do cardiovascular fitness for fat loss restrict their nutrition and not get in the caloric or vitamins or minerals that the body needs, and over time fall into the traps that I said before, where you'll start getting sick or injured. Instead, focus on this foundation line. If you aren't training for a cardiovascular event, you're not training to run, you're not training to compete in a swim, you're not training to ride a specific distance. Cardiovascular isn't necessary to drop body fat. If we have our nutrition in check with a good resistance training program, we can manipulate the body to whatever goals we desire. Therefore, your foundation should remain on the base of this triangle. Now, if you are wanting to do the obstacle course racing, you are wanting to do the corporate charity run that your office is doing, you are wanting to increase your heart and lung capacity so that you're not puffed when you're going up the stairs, so that you can play with the kids and not be tired afterwards. That's where you incorporate some cardio into your resistance training with your nutrition plan and edge further up towards that sweet spot. I hope that's answered all your questions. Please leave comments below and let me know what else I can help with.